right now. Let's now talk about the recent news about government, which is likely to implement Model Shop and Establishment Act. Now, the buzz, of course, is that it is going to, be a win-win situation for the companies, because they will be companies including restaurants, malls, and, all those kind of companies, and they will be able to stay open 24/7. Now, the reports, of course, also are indicating that this would lead to a significant pickup as far as the hiring activity, employment and the job market overall in the country is concerned. To get a sense of what exactly can we look forward to, we are now joined by Mr. Manish Sabharwal, Chairman and Co-founder at TeamLease, who's joining us from Bangalore. Mr. Sabharwal, thank you very much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. So this Model Shop and Establishment Act, how significant do you think it can be for the country's job market?
Significant. There's no question that regulatory cholesterol has been holding back job creation for many years, and the Shops and Establishment Act is not only just about working hours, but it's also a very important gain for women. One of the birth defects in India's labor market has been 23% labor force participation by women, just a little above Saudi Arabia. And so if we can get 30-40% of women back into the labor force, that would be a substantial kick for GDP, productivity, and everything else. So I think the Shops and Establishment Act moves in exactly the right direction, just giving the power to states. There is no such thing as India's labor market. 29 chief ministers matter more than one prime minister for job creation. So there could be a substantial kick up in sales, customer service, logistics, which are really the fastest growing segments of India's job market.
How is the job market looking like currently? What's the sense? I mean, has there been any change, considering the government's focus has purely been on job creation, Make in India? Have things started picking up on the ground?
I think so. I think we're seeing a divergence, three kinds of divergence. One is the old corporate India, which is obviously stuck with their debt problems, is not moving that much. But there's a new sort of corporate India in domestic consumption, people in sales, customer service, logistics, healthcare, hospitality. So we are seeing a 20-30% increase in open positions for us as a company over what they were 6 months ago, which is really a reflective of confidence coming back in domestic investors, consumer demand. So my sense is that while stuff like Shops Establishment Act or the Textile Policy or other labor reforms the government's been thinking about will take time to play out, in the long run there's no question that we're creating a fertile habitat.
Right. Which are the key sectors, according to you, if you could give us a sense as to which have really picked up, say, in the last couple of months and are looking promising ahead as well in FY17, and which are those which are still pretty weak and, need significant investments, or probably a turnaround is still expected there?
Well, I think infrastructure is still holding back, but domestic consumption, FMCD, agri-chemical sales, so wherever there's large domestic consumption, so more than an industry from our perspective as a company we're really focused on hiring, is really the function is probably more important. So sales, customer service, logistics is where we have seen the most uptick. Now that is expanding the long tail. They're going beyond the top 20 cities to the 200, 300, 400 beyond that. They're expanding the breadth of their coverage and the depth. So my sense is FMCG, FMCD, agri-chemical sales and hospitality are where we're seeing the most growth right now.
And what's the outlook ahead for FY17? What about IT sector? I mean, how is the situation looking like out there?
I mean, IT, I think, is clearly signaling that they have changed their model. They may have reached peak employment. They are focused on productivity. They no longer headline their results or their numbers by how many people they hired. Many of the large IT customers are focused on productivity. So my sense is that IT services, which services the offshore market, will see the normal sort of increase, but their focus being productivity. But you're seeing a lot of slack in IT being taken up by e-commerce companies, by new offshore development centers. So my sense is, in most years, 2.5 lakh fresh engineers get hired from campuses. That will probably be the same number this year.
Right. I was now about to come to the story as far as the e-commerce space is concerned. We've seen recently several companies withdrawing the job offers. What's really happening out there, and, what's the future?
I mean, I think e-commerce was built for a very different funding environment. I think they genuinely provide value. So there were too many of them which got funded too quickly. I think you're moving from sort of the hormonal exuberance of adolescence to the cruising speed of adulthood as an industry. And I think that there is clearly a shakeout happening. Does that mean that e-commerce is not going to be around now? They're much more efficient than many of the large retailers. They provide genuine value. I think that you will start seeing many of the sort of, in high tide, it's hard to make out who is really worth anything. So now that the funding environment has changed, employment is down a little bit in the short run, but no question in my mind that employment in the e-commerce sector will be higher